Well, Congress gets back to work this week with a lot of pressing issues to deal with. Congressional leaders, they're going to meet at the White House tomorrow to talk about the legislative agenda, and they find themselves in a major time crunch with a packed to-do list. A new year comes with a new to-do list on Capitol Hill. At the top of the president's wish list, infrastructure.
Well, we're going to get infrastructure. Infrastructure is the easiest of all.
The president's eyeing a $200 billion package to rebuild the country's roads, bridges, and airports. But that program needs buy-in from Democrats.
The Democrats have no incentive with this wave, as I say, building, to not surf that wave and try to obstruct everything the president wants to do.
The most time-sensitive of issues, striking a spending deal by January 19th to avert a partial government shutdown. Then there's the Dreamers, the nearly 800,000 undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Lawmakers want to find protections for those Dreamers after the president ended the DACA program last year. The president's now trying to blame Democrats, tweeting, "Democrats are doing nothing for DACA, just interested in politics."
The president wants to have responsible immigration reform. He said before that he would like to include a DACA resolution in that process, and we hope to be able to work with members of Congress to get that done.
The packed legislative agenda comes as Republicans look to defend their majority in the midterm elections.
They have a whole bunch of things that need to get done, not only politically, but for the country as a whole. But the difficulty the Republicans face is they're in a very bad year.
Now, one of the first orders of business, it'll be swearing in of Senator Doug Jones, the Alabama Democrat. Of course, he beat Roy Moore, and once he's seated, the GOP majority will shrink to 51 to 49. It could make it even tougher to pass some of the welfare reforms that Speaker Paul Ryan wants. We're just getting details of what he could propose. Ryan reportedly, he wants more work requirements and perhaps giving block grants to states and having them deal with it. Critics say that would slash the safety net for the people who need it most. Republicans also want to have a similar arrangement when it comes to Medicaid. Now, Dominic, listen, I don't see any reason why the Democrats play ball with the president on any of this, unless there's a fear that if they're seen as equally obstructionist, they'll pay a price also come November. But if Schumer closes the door with the Democrats, is he saying, forget this guy, let's just keep running out the clock here and make him pay the price? Or does he say, let's work out a deal for infrastructure, we have equal interests here, we'll trade on this, that, and the other thing?
You don't cooperate with the president at this stage. We are only months away from the midterms. Republicans are not going to do well, so why would you help them save themselves? But you don't admit to the public that you're obstructing the president. You masquerade it, you disguise it. You say, again, keep playing a laid-back role the way Democrats, and I'm surprised that they're not in a circular firing squad shooting each other. You continue to lay back, let the president's personality lead by example. That says all that needs to be said.
Do you think Democrats are more worried, Dominic, about the equivalent of the Tea Party on the left that's building up right now, right? The angry folks here who said that we should have been more progressive, the Bernie Sanders wing of the party? Or are they more worried that the moderate Democrats say, hey, listen, I don't care if it's his idea or your idea, let's get something done?
But that's why I say you masquerade the fact that you're not working with the president, because you disguise it this way. You say, we're standing up for you. We cannot agree with the president's agenda because it's not in your best interest. When really what you're doing is you're being an obstructionist, but you're hiding it, you're masquerading it, and that should please someone. There are some people you're never going to please.
Right.
It should please someone.
Well, and some of the trade-offs, it's easy for them to say, we're not going to give them the wall funding here just so that they don't throw kids. And to that, I'm just imagining, Phil, the optics. He can say whatever he wants. Come springtime, when DACA expires here, if they start bringing out kids, right? Yeah. And what's on the evening news and the pictures and all the rest, that they're getting them coming out of school or whatever, forget about the ethics and morality for a second. The optics of that, my God, you really want to be the party that's against kids, you know?
Yeah, I think going back to what Andrew said in the earlier segment, I think there's going to be a deal made on that. I think he's going to go along with Democrats on DACA, and he'll probably make a concession on the infrastructure
It
stuff.
makes sense, but here's my question.
But where they're not going to
do you think this president would be able to deal with the headlines and the news cycles leading up to it, that he's giving the Democrats everything they want. I don't think he's got the physical composition to let that happen.
No, but he'll take credit for anything that's good. I mean, that's his MO. You know, it's like MacArthur did that. You know, even when he was screwing up, he said I was, you know, they were opposing me on every end and all that kind of stuff. So that's what he's going to do. But one thing that they will not do is what Paul Ryan wants, which is the so-called entitlement reforms, which is not going to happen before the 2018 midterm elections. And I don't think Trump will handle that. I don't think even he could turn that into a victory of any kind.
Well,
you know?
he's also mentioned not touching things like Social Security, so that's not something.
Well, that's what they call an entitlement.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's part of the
Medicare.
entitlement.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
No,
just
but
saying. It's all
Richard,
lumped
for
in.
folks who didn't hear, Ryan's talking loudly that Medicare,
that's all
the
I'm talking
idea
about,
that you're basically going to
Food
say
stamps?
to somebody who's on food stamps that you might have to get a drug test for it. Those ideas, more red state people get that than blue state people. So, and by the way, more white folk get that than people of color. So my point is, do they really follow through with that as a way to appease the right to say, we ran up a huge bill here with this tax cuts and we don't have any revenues to offset it, we got to find cuts somewhere?
Yeah, I don't think that stuff that we just mentioned is not really part of what the president's pledge was. Like the wall is actually more important than what we just spoke about. That might be Ryan's
I
agenda.
thought Republicans were the pay-go party.
Look, there's President Trump.
Never mind,
There's
yeah.
President Trump, and then there's the Republican Party. Okay, before he ran for president, there was no President Trump. Trump was not the standard bearer for the Republican Party. He came in and actually got the nomination. We all know what happened. We all know the story. So, honestly, I think whether Democrats are in charge of Congress or Republicans, he would work with whoever to get his agenda pushed and passed.
Republicans sure blew off pay-go when Bush was president, so it's only when there's a Democrat in the White House that paying as you go actually seems to matter to this party. I mean, we blew up the deficit for the war, and for one war we didn't need, and we still haven't paid that down.
Okay, so then explain this to me. Why, if after everything that went on, the multiple failures on repealing Obamacare, why do they seem to really mean it when they're saying, you know, let's repeal elements of this, let's go after Medicaid? Why go through the kabuki dance if Richard's right, they're not going to do any of these things?
Oh, I disagree. I disagree with Richard's assessment. I don't think the White House has prioritized that, but I sure as heck know that Republicans on the
I'm
Hill
with you.
have.
I think they're gonna do it.
And the thing is,
Ryan has,
Paul
but
Ryan has,
McConnell hasn't.
well, McConnell would if he could. He just doesn't have the votes right now.
Well, not this year.
No, and not with a margin of only one. But you know, you could make a valid argument that the tax cuts and the deficits that we've taken on to support the tax cuts was simply cover to try to force the economic position that Republicans are now going to turn around and say, well, now we have to cut the safety net because we're in debt and we don't have any money.
And you think it does or doesn't come up before November?
I think Republicans in Congress will try their darndest to bring it up in November. I think the House will. I think the Senate has no traction for it whatsoever.
They could get away with the tax plan because no one really knows yet how that's going to affect them. I mean, you ask anybody, they go, I don't know. I talked to my accountant. You know,
But they
if you
can't
have
wait.
Plus, it's such a big Republican
But
principle.
you mess with Medicare and Social Security, people are going to know exactly
But
how
they
it's going to
can't wait, guys, on DACA. DACA expires in a few
But
months.
at the same time, the president can. It's an executive order. He can extend it. Also, it's not the end of the world.
What are the
Or
odds
he
he's
can
going to
come
do that and then admit
They
that he made
already-
a
Well,
mistake?
Right, they already extended it.
Yeah, but then
he can do it again. But look, he doesn't have to extend it until the Democrats come up with some type of deal.
Okay, but let's say he doesn't. Now you're basically deputizing, right, as we've seen already, cops or ICE say which kids they do and don't want to round up.
And you start prioritizing, and you say people who are DACA who've been arrested or have criminal records go first.
You
That's
think
that's
first
the
of all,
that's
first
the
of all,
priority.
you think
and-
it's going to work that way?
yes, because that was
Let me tell
set
you
up.
how TV works. An idiot in, Phil in the city, Utah, is going to go get a kid out of an elementary school, say, show me your papers, mom and dad, and that's how it's going to happen. It's going to become a national story. I will bet you any amount of money that's how this all goes down.
No, because the president has already prioritized his immigration
It
policy.
doesn't
Which
matter.
Yes, it
He's-
does, because
no.
this is going out to ICE. There is a process. There is a government agency in charge of the immigration laws, not the local.
I'm sorry.
Not
do
the
you,
not the
do
local.
you remember
cities.
what happened the last time in Maricopa County in Arizona when they were starting to say, show me your papers? Do you remember when that went down?
Yeah, you know what happened? The sheriff was found in contempt of court and pardoned by the president. But he was
My
doing
friend,
stuff
I
illegally.
will give you odds.
Illegally.
If they don't resolve this
And
in spring and he doesn't extend it, which I don't believe he will, because these guys are right, he'll have to admit failure, this will be a nightmare for the GOP. Because all of a sudden you're going to see faces to an issue. 800,000 kids. Okay?
It's not going to happen.
And that's
like
the part that
It's
we
not
forget
gonna
about.
happen.
That's the part
They're
that we
not just
forget
going to deport each other.
800,000 kids basically being held hostage unless Democrats do what the president wants. 13 million people being held hostage under threat of losing their health care unless the Democrats do what the president wants. I mean, this is Bridgegate with people's lives, and we're seeing it over and over and over
And by the
again
way, I
from
think
this
it's bad
administration.
politics on the part of the president.
But it also will be bad politics in terms of Democrats, because there has to be a consensus and an agreement about, first of all, the people here under DACA, let's not be mistaken, they're here illegally.
No,
Meaning-
hold on.
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
I know I got to hit break. I'll do the optics and I'll do the actuality. Actuality, you're right, but they were all brought here as children by their parents.
I'm not saying
okay.
it's their
no,
fault.
No. My point is, however people feel about immigration, I got the polling to back me up, the idea of a kid coming in here, they don't like the term anchor baby, and that's what the president wants to call them. This ain't going to go up. Second thing is, you start taking away people's health care, something they already have, that's not going to go up. You start messing with people's Medicaid. Again, all of a sudden people realize, wait a minute, I'm getting Medicaid. Doesn't like, I'm saying all these things, Democrats, to Don's point, don't have to do a thing. It's taking stuff away that people already have.
And that's how we got President Trump, because nobody did anything during Obama and a Republican Congress. I mean,
I'll let you have
Democratic
the last word
Congress.
on that
right.
one. We'll agree to disagree. Coming up next, 3 new Democrats that are in charge or are about to be sworn in around our area. New governor of New Jersey, county execs in Westchester and Nassau County, and they all have a common, well, let's say, problem. It's called the math here. Andrew just sat down with one of them, the Westchester executive, George Latimer, in his first interview since being sworn in. And trust me, some of the numbers, tough to swallow.